probably the line of yours that I most often repeat, and I do try to give you credit when I do in my videos. But it's the you've made the statement. It's along the lines of, I want to believe as many true things as possible, but also dismiss as many untrue things as possible, or reject as many untrue things as possible.
I want to believe as many true things as possible and as few false things as possible.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. What was the origin of? Is that something you came up with, or is that sourced from somewhere? Where's that?
I said it off the cuff. So I have no expertise in anything. I don't have any degrees. I'm self-taught. But if I have an expertise in something, it is taking difficult concepts and distilling them to the point where anybody can understand them. And I joke in part because that's what I had to do for me to get it. But if I'm on this show and I come out, I don't want to just quote, Hume, the wise man apportions his belief to the evidence. Or if someone were to suggest that a man rose from the dead, I must ask whether it's more likely that they are deceived or deceiving than that the thing be true, because that just doesn't resonate. Mm. But for me, what skepticism is I want my internal model of reality to match reality as best as it can.
Right.
And to crib Hume's epistemology was to say, I think it just came out on the show one day, and I liked it, and other people liked it, so I kept using it, which is, I want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. And I would go on to explain why you need both of those.
Right.
Because if you want to believe as many true things as possible, you believe everything.
Everything, yep.
And if you want to believe as few false things, you believe nothing.
Right.
You have to have both sides of that, and what that essentially means is, I want my internal model of reality to be as accurate to the reality I experience as possible.
Good, yeah. Yeah, and we're getting off track. I'll get back to the questions I've written, but I actually was using this argument when debating an apologist the other day, and we're actually going to re-record a debate with a new proposition because it got so off the rails. But I had talked about that, and he asked for definitions, and I think I gave adequate ones, but I want to give you the same questions, and you'll recognize the apologetic tone of the question. Well, what is truth? Or, well, what is, what was the other word? We'll just go with, well, what is truth then?
Yeah, that's a common starting point because it's a real issue. Mm-hmm. First of all, you should always try to define your terms. And second of all, there is a problem of whether or not we have adequate access to truth. And, science doesn't make proclamations about truth.
Right.
It just offers up probabilistic explanations that are tentative and based on the evidence. Mm-hmm. But it's true in some sense. And for me, I define truth as that which comports to reality. And so it's true if it's real.
That was his follow-up, which was, that was the other word I was trying to think of that he asked, which was, well, then what is reality? Again, apologists, no surprises.
Yeah, and this is trying to go down a hole because I experience some reality. And as, presuppositionalists and their clones like Sciatin Bruggencate and stuff will try to do is they'll say, well, you are taking it on faith that the reality you experience is, in fact, the accurate ultimate reality. And that's not true. I experience whatever reality I experience. I can't control that. And I'm not assuming that it's a true or ultimate reality. I just have no other option. It's a pragmatic thing that I have to deal with the reality I experience. I can't prove that you're real. I could be a brain in a vat being fed this, and Jimmy doesn't exist, and it's all in my head. But if I live my life as if the stuff that I'm experiencing is not real, I'm going to probably die.
Yeah.
The rules of this, it's like, how do you know you're not in the Matrix? Well,
right.
I don't know that whether or not I'm in a Matrix, but until somebody shows me that I am and that there is some way out, I have to deal with the rules of the Matrix as they are.
Right. So let me give you the answer I gave, and you tell me if it's because it felt good in the moment, which means I probably overlooked something and it was terrible. Mine was there are apparently 7 billion other people, and I define reality as those things that exist in the same realm as all 7 billion people and myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably acceptable. There's a load of problems with that, though, because some of those 7 billion people are clearly delusional. Right. And experiencing, or may not be able to see and experiencing things the same way that you do. But the thing is, we're good enough about understanding the truth about reality that we even are capable of locking people up when their perception of reality is clearly harmful to themselves and others, that they are divorced from our reality. Now, you could make the claim that those people we locked up are actually in tune with the real reality, and all the rest of us are the ones that are deluded. And I can't prove that wrong. It's an unfalsifiable proposition. But you can't operate based on that assumption. You have to operate that, you know, if I say, look, this is a Talk Heathen coffee mug, the overwhelming majority of everybody, even if they don't speak English, once they've been explained the concept that I'm expressing, would agree. And there's a quote that I kind of like, which is, reality is those things that don't go away when you stop believing in them.
Right. Which is, I think that's the path I would have gone down if he had brought up, well, what about the people who wouldn't agree that that's a Talk Heathen mug? And it would be, it's those things that it's a Talk Heathen mug whether or not they believe, as far as
it's a problem. When they raise these problems, the problem of hard solipsism, you know, or the grounding of reason itself, they don't have a solution either. The problem is real. It's something that we have to deal with, but they're basically saying, oh, your worldview doesn't include a solution for that, but my worldview does. And in fact, their worldview doesn't. It just asserts that God is the grounding for reason, or God is the grounding for reality. But they also have to recognize that if they're calling into question the reliability of my experience, they have to also call into question of the reliability of their experience. And if their experience includes this explanation, it is now suspect as well.
Yeah, no kidding.